Welcome to our 5th D&D recap for sessions 5 and 6. When we last saw our adventurers, they were leaving the Draskin Hold to go to Sleek Shore. During their week-long stay at the Draskin Hold, they received gifts. Gunk learned Common and got a green cape with embroidery from his gray froglet. Crispin met the spirit of Ciri Draskin, who gave him a small charm of a snapdragon encased in amber. Animax received a small carving of Mesro that could be used as an arcane focus from Yalta, and Fish got a Draskin tattoo from Triker and a tattered short cloak. Just before reaching the gates, they fought Sekhmet, a Cambion sent by Fae who haunted their dreams upon their arrival to Freemarch. Gunk and Fish dealt heavy blows to the demon as Animax and Crispin protected and sustained them from afar. However, near the end of the battle, Yalta was knocked unconscious and Rockstory was infected by the Ire Thrall, who upchucked on him. As his condition got worse and worse, it came to a culmination when he began to convulse and opened an ire-infused portal of which a creepy, black, dripping hand snatched Animax into. While being dragged into a snowy land that he could only assume was Palados, a light of gold struck from the sky as an ethereal being that demanded that he could not be taken yet, before throwing him back through the closing portal in the sky and slicing the hand. Returning back to the inn, Roxroy puked out a heap of black bile before regressing to a slightly better state. Deciding that they still had a mission to complete, the champions left Freemarch that night with Animax saying his goodbyes to Otil and Yalta reassuring everyone that they always had a place at the Draskin Hold. Before leaving, Ashanti pulled the party aside and told them that there may be a person who could help Roxroy, but that they were not allowed to confide this information to Otil. Setting off on a carriage drawn by Setting off on their carriage drawn by Humpy and Camilla. The party arrived in Sleek Shore that afternoon. Not far away, Gunk and Animax were involved in the mugging and later killing of a middle-aged elf man who the paladin perceived as seedy. Later, they went to a tent where a Lokatha Halnel gave them 10 modeled potions, of which the effects are unknown for a fair price. In the night, the party had an assassination attempt by 4 figures in tiger masks that left Crispin near death and Animax badly injured. Tailing their attackers, the party was led to a mine shaft where they fought the assassins on minecarts flying down the tracks. Looking into the shadows of the cavern, Animax noticed more and more stone statues of figures who appeared fear-stricken. As one cart flew off the tracks, the As one cart flew off the tracks, the party was forced to dismount their cart and face a basilisk, who was responsible for the collection of stone-encased bodies. One of the assassins made a quick escape, taunting Fish that his friend's screams were like music to her ears. In a valiant effort, Gunk threw the first modeled potion that he could lay his grubby hands on at the basilisk, which made it an easy kill. Within the monster, however, the party cut and slashed to find the Sword of Eventide, who chose the lawful Animax as its wielder. As Crispin met the spirit of the basilisk, who he named Guppy, the rest of the party returned their attention to their attackers, one of which was turned to stone and 2 of which were unconscious. Taking the unconscious Yuan-Ti half-blood and elven woman, the party tied them up and mercilessly tortured them for information, but all they received were half-truths and intimidation tactics. Quite tired of the multiple attempts on their lives, the sect decided to set off to Salmu that very night. Sad to leave his partner, Ephraim told Crispin that he would be returning to Neria, but if he and his friends sought passage, they could find Captain Rambling in Salmu through the distinctive red, blue, and yellow sails of his ship. On the run, the group packed their wagon, but before their departure, Fish was met by a small child with a red hand who gave him a letter. Within its contents, Fish learned that his guild had been slaughtered after taking a mission without him, and the sole survivor, being Prosidius, wrote the letter as he escaped, hoping to preserve his life. After another nighttime passage, the party found themselves in Salmu in the early hours of the morning. Stopped by guards who recognized Fish and Ashanti, they were escorted to meet the Lord of Salmu, Honey of Bees, in her fortress of honey. There, the guard captain Thurlow explained that the Black Forge was burnt to nothing a few weeks ago and some bodies had been found at the scene, many of which the Goliath and Orc recognized. In a dramatic fashion, the guards also detained Roxroy to the sick district of Salmu, as a disease akin to his had been sweeping through the city. Ready to see what was left of Ashanti and Fish's home, the party investigated the forge, finding bones that were left uncharred, slight remains of magic on the premises, and a kenku feather sitting suspiciously among the rubble. Fish was also left with no trace of his belongings. Moving forward, the party went to Cherry's to sleep for the night, where Animax and Gunk were able to catch up with their friend Cherry, the owner. At the inn, Crispin was met with a familiar face of a woman, the one he cussed out in the Vile Wastes, who demanded an apology. To smooth things over, Gunk gave her back her yuan, making her comfortable enough to cope with their presence. In a conversation with Ashanti, the party was able to pick up bits and pieces that alluded to Dunja, the woman, being a runaway from the druidic group that Otil and Ashanti came from, and that she might know how to cure the ire fever. Later that night, the party got together and connected some pieces of the Black Forge puzzle, suspecting that the Atomos gang were tied to the assassins who bragged about the killing of the Red Hand. Will Fish find out what happened to his beloved guild? Will Crispin ever truly be reunited with his lover? Will Animax stay committed to his righteous path as destined by his sword? Will Gunk ever receive a letter? We'll find out this and more in our next session of D&D.